You're listening to the Epically Geeky Show, a place for all things geeky.
Welcome out to the Epically Geeky Show. I'm your host for the evening, Eugene Stevens. This is episode number 168. Tonight I am joined by Joseph, Ray, and Kris. How are y'all doing?
Getting old.
Yeah.
Aren't we all? It's been a little while since we've done this show. I know we skipped the episode last month, but we are back, which is why I didn't even start off with the opening question. I started off like what we've been doing with the other shows. So I guess let's go ahead and start with the opening question. And that is, of the four main Seinfeld characters, who would you be? We'll start with Ray.
Of course, you started with me because I don't even know. Seinfeld for me, I was too young. I didn't get into it, and so
you missed it.
I missed it. And now that I've got buddies, they're like, "Oh, you got to watch Seinfeld." And I try, and because I've missed the era, it's not nostalgic to me. So now it's like I can't. There's a lot of stupidity in it.
So he's kind of a mix between all three of them, depending on his mood.
Yeah, that's
Which three?
The three male.
the three male. There you go.
Oh, so between Jerry, George, and Kramer?
Yes, it just depends on what's happening.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I think so.
That's about it.
Kris, who would you fall in as?
So again, I didn't really watch it a whole lot as a kid. I caught later episodes and then reruns and stuff like that. So I didn't totally get into it because a lot of it flew over my head. I didn't get the references. But I think I'm a mix between Elaine, George, and Kramer.
Okay.
Because I was that girl that used to shove and go, "Shut up," and shove you.
Right, yeah.
George, because he's just this pessimistic dude, right? So I get like that. And then Kramer, because he's erratic, but you gotta respect a person who just lives their own life by their own rules. Doesn't give a crap what you think. He just
yeah.
So those three.
Okay. Joseph?
Well, I'm the exact opposite of Kris and Ray because I have watched the entire series at least 10 times, and I can quote along to most episodes. Yeah. So I would say that most of the time I'm Jerry because I'm very just even. I don't have a lot of things, but I do exhibit some George, but specifically Yankees era George because he gets a little too crazy towards the end. Yankees era George. The times that I exhibit any kind of Kramer is mostly when I'm by myself and I just feel like being dumb, but that's kind of the way it would work out. If I had to pick an era of Kramer, it would be when he had little Jerry. If you don't know that reference, he gets a rooster and he names it Little Jerry, and he somehow finds himself in a cockfighting ring, and he tries to go save Little Jerry. But that way that he is crazy, but also so caring and nurturing towards Little Jerry. Yeah. That would be my Kramer.
I love that.
I would definitely be a mix between Jerry and George. Just because a lot of times I can be pretty even keel, but then sometimes it's just you just stand back and you're just like, is this really happening? Is this really the world that I'm inhabiting? And then George, whenever he just gets worked up over something, and I have yelled and screamed at things that I'm just like, this is the most moronic thing ever. And you just get super excited about something or whatever. I would definitely be a mix of those two, which is funny because I'm like you. It's funny. Well, actually, I guess I'd be a cross between y'all because I didn't really watch the show when it came out. I wasn't watching it when it was airing, but I went back and watched it afterwards and fell in love with it. And then since then, I've watched it multiple times. In fact, Christy and I just finished a rewatch of the entire season or the series. We kind of started it off weird though. We specifically were watching Christmas stuff, and we watched the what is the holiday?
The Festivus episode.
Festivus. We watched the Festivus episode,
Yeah.
and she's like, "Well, do you want to finish watching the season?" So we did, and I didn't realize that was the last season of the show. And then we're like, "Well, let's start from the beginning of that season." We finished. Was it season 7? And then we went to season 6, and then we went to season 5. We literally watched it in reverse order, semi-reverse order. So that was kind of interesting to do. But yeah, it has definitely become one of the ones that if it's on, like Christy, an episode will start and we'll be like, is this the one where this and this happens? No, it's the one where this and this, but then this other thing happened. Like we pretty much know what's going to happen in the episode. So we have another series or two that we're that way with, but Seinfeld is definitely one of those that we can put on and just sit down and watch and laugh and have a good time. So
if I'm not mistaken, The Bet is like the highest rated comedy episode like ever made.
Really? See, I would have thought it would have been either Soup Nazi or Festivus, because those are the ones that have gotten so many hooks into pop culture.
December 22nd is Festivus, just for your own knowledge.
Yeah.
The Bet is how long they can last without pleasing themselves.
Self-gratification.
Yes.
I don't know how to feel about
And
that.
Isn't Kramer the first one out? And he like
Yeah.
slept.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
It's hilarious because when they're having the discussion, it was between George and Jerry at first, and then Kramer's like, "I want a part of this." And they're like, you won't get past the check.
Yeah.
And then when Elaine jumps in, they're just like, "Oh no, women, y'all are different. Like this is like shaving for us."
They make her give them odds.
Yeah, she had to put in odds. And then of course in this episode, everything that could possibly happen to be attractive to the person. So like she ends up meeting JFK Jr. and of course she's just like swooning over him. And like there's a really attractive woman that's like has moved in the apartment like across the street or whatever, and like she's walking around the apartment naked or whatever, and it's just like every low-hanging fruit you could think of is there. It is really a funny episode. So
I'll admit, I think when I got introduced to Seinfeld, I wasn't really in that mode. Like I don't think I didn't try with Seinfeld, so I'll admit that.
Mm-hmm.
I will attempt to watch the show again. Is there one that I should start with? Is there anything like, should I skip a certain amount? Is there
the first season is definitely like most sitcoms. The first season's kind of trying to feel its way out and figure out what kind of show it wants to be. I would say probably I want to look at the specific episodes again, but probably season 3 or 4 is when they really start to get into the swing, because they literally have an A, B, and C plot, and by the end of the episode, they will all come together, and like whatever solves the A plot usually will fill in B and C as well. Like they were very, very well written.
Really this first season, all it does is it lays the foundation for jokes later on. So when George picks up the name Art Vandelay, it like recurs throughout the series. It shows them the very first time in the coffee shop, but like the coffee shop in Jerry's apartment changes from season 1 to season 2.
Yeah,
they just redo the set.
Yeah, and then after that, it's minimal changes. And there's always a change. What's funny is like the lighting in the second season. Like I specifically pointed out to Chris, I was like, "Man, the lighting is dark in this season. Like it was much brighter in the third season and much brighter in the first season. It's like whoever was doing the lighting, I don't know what the hell they were going for." So, but
all right. Well, I will attempt it again.
Like I said, it's definitely one of those other things that. I mean, there is some continuity to it, but it's not like you very quickly you pick up, okay, well, this is where George is working, Jerry's still doing stand-up, Kramer's still doing whatever, and now Elaine's working at the publishing or whatever. Like it's just that's about it. And then the rest of it's maybe if someone's dating someone, but other than that, you can pretty much pick up, and it's mostly the crazy crap that happens during that episode. Yeah. So
cool.
But so tonight's episode, I had thrown out this idea a while back, and originally we were all going to try to find a sitcom to all contribute into, but turns out we've all watched different things and haven't all watched the same thing. So we changed it up a little bit, and we're going to come up with a legacy season for a sitcom that we enjoy. And if you're not familiar with the term a legacy season or legacy movie, we're talking about a series that was on, or a movie that was made decades ago. I would say at least needs at least a decade between a sequel and when it originally came out for it to be called a legacy. So some popular movies that have come out recently that have done really well with Ghostbusters Life is definitely a legacy sequel.
Mhm.
Top Gun is definitely a legacy sequel. But then there have been some TV shows that have had legacy sequels that apparently are doing okay. Roseanne came back and then mouthed off, got kicked off, and now they've moved on. I didn't know how they were going to move on without the title character, but they have. Christy still watches it. I've never been a fan, but I haven't watched the new Night Court, but apparently it is actually doing fairly okay on NBC. I know Netflix did some legacy series for Full House and stuff, and had some little bit of traction there. So it's basically just kind of checking in with, some time has passed and checking in with these characters and seeing what they're up to. And one of the reasons why, number one, I thought this was such a fun idea is because at least I picked Seinfeld. So it's been at least 2 decades since that show's been on, 2.5 really. So it's somewhere around there. So it's definitely been at least 2 decades. And what's funny is going back and watching some of these episodes, if we had the technology we had today, and this goes for a lot of things, especially horror movies, if we had the technology then that we had today, a lot of the problems would have been solved, because literally a lot of the episodes where someone missed a phone call or someone wasn't home or something like that. And now it'll literally just be, well, I'm going to pull out my phone and call them, and, oh, hey, no, guess what? I'm not going to be there. You don't have to wait there for 22 minutes, which is the entire episode. So, but yeah, so at the Chinese, yes. And I really wish I could have met James Hong, because I would have loved to have had him sign a Chinese restaurant thing. That's the thing I would have loved to have had him sign. So, but anyway, so we all picked different series, and we've done I told everyone to come up with at least 3 episodes. I had a lot of time to think about this, and we did 6 episodes, which is basically almost a full current season. So who knows? We may end up coming back to this again and filling out the rest of the season, but who knows? But we'll see. With that said, so I've already said that I did Seinfeld. Joseph, what show did you pick?
I did The Office.
Ray?
Home Improvement.
Home Improvement. And Kris?
Friends.
Okay. Friends is honestly one of those other ones I did not get into. And there was a time period when I did watch it. I think I finished it. After a while, some of the characters were driving me insane. But I've never really come back to Friends. It did not, like Ray was saying, it never stuck with me when it first came out. So I don't have a lot of nostalgia for watching it. But believe me, I mean, the show itself, the streaming services pay big bucks to keep airing it. It is constantly in rotation. So
it's never not been on the air.
Yeah, exactly. So
ever. Since 1994.
Which is crazy. So with that said, would anyone like to go first and explain their first episode?
I'll go.
Okay. So you did Friends.
I did Friends.
Okay. So first off, catch us up with where everyone is.
So this is what I did. So technically there hasn't been a legacy episode, because when they did the thing, it was just a reunion. They were just doing a reunion thing. It was
not a reunion show. Hey, we're going to get the show together. It was just a reunion of the cast
reunion. So that's why I picked it. So, and I broke down the episodes because there's 6 main characters. So I broke each episode down into 2 of the characters.
Oh, okay.
So that's how I did it. You're catching up with the characters, 2 characters each episode.
That's an awesome idea.
Yeah. So my first episode is Phoebe and Joey. And so Phoebe has won the lottery. She accidentally found a lottery ticket on the ground while she was walking around a guided Aura tour in New York City. So she and Mike, they're married, bought a large piece of land in upstate New York and have turned it into an artist oasis.
Okay. Yeah.
Hugh Joey, where he is the on-site acting coach after having retired as Dr. Draper Morey. After a successful run that included 3 daytime Emmys and a record-breaking number of Soapy Awards.
Because in this reality, Joey never happened. The show.
Oh
Right.
yeah, Joey didn't happen. That was crap. So no, we're not. Joey never happened.
That was a fake.
Joey
dream.
didn't go
You
to
know
Los
what?
Angeles,
Here's how you get around that one. He wakes up on the couch.
and that was the dream.
It was a dream.
And
That
there you go.
was-
Yeah.
That
All
was
right.
terrible.
Now I can do my new job.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's cool. So that's where Phoebe and Joey are.
Or even better, it would be Phoebe waking up in a panic and telling Joey that he's got to come to this retreat so that she's saving him from that life.
Nice.
Whatever, he's
I can
there.
see you doing that too.
So that's where Phoebe and Joey are. That's the first episode.
I completely forgot that Joey even existed. And
Yep.
I think a lot of people really tried to.
That's my favorite character. Him and
No,
Phoebe.
not the character. I'm talking about the series.
show. Yeah, and I watched it. It was awful because I
Yeah.
was sad that Friends ended. So I was like, oh, I got anything. And it was Joey, and it was just crap.
Couldn't do it.
It didn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember a lot of people were excited about it and then started watching it. And this one girl I knew, you could tell she wanted to like it so bad. And you could tell she was just like, well, it's getting better. And I'm just like, okay, you do you. Like, you just keep watching it. So
It makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Ray, you want to go next?
Sure. So I did mine a little bit differently. Mine kind of catches up a little bit. So to what you would find out in the first episode is that so Jill has retired from psychology. She had her thing down in Indiana. If you haven't watched all the episodes, so they did move from Detroit. They went from Michigan. They're down in Indiana now. Tim had quit the show. And Jill did her psychology thing. Randy was in Costa Rica doing studies on environmental technologies, and the boys had went to whatever colleges. So what I kind of came up with was that Tim sold his Indiana tool store because he might as well own a tool store while he was down there to help support the family. But he's now sold that store. And the great thing is because of the way that they ended the show with the house on a barge, it's the same set. So it's the same set in Indiana, and they're so the way that would actually open up is you see the garage, and there's this old rusted out van, and then you kind of hear some like things in the background of like Jill saying like, why did you buy that rusted out piece of shit, essentially?
They wouldn't swear though.
No, they wouldn't. Swear. No, they wouldn't.
No.
Yeah.
So that it's an old rusted out piece of crap. And he said, well, honey, you gotta put I need enough room for the grandkids. Because of course he would want to have a retro van. So it's this old 60s Chevy van that's rusted out, and you got to have it for the grandkids. So, so that's kind of where it all starts up. And
you lost yourself.
I did because I kind of started it off differently. So then, so we find out that Randy is a specialist with environmentally friendly technology. Brad went off to film school to become a cameraman because he really enjoyed, his time with Tool Time, but he got more fascinated with the film side of things. And then Mark went to film school as well, but he became a director, and because that was definitely kind of the road that he was going down with. He had created a couple of films and stuff like that. So And then it ends with Randy kind of looking at his dad and saying, like, listen, if you really want more power of the van, you should probably make it electric. And so that's, that's kind of how episode 1 ends.
Nice.
Yeah, just a catch-up episode of where the hell everybody is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Nice. Good job. Joseph, what's your first episode?
So I wrote my episodes as if I was writing a short story.
Okay.
So that's basically what I'm going to do here.
Fair enough.
So episode 1 of season 10 of The Office is called The Return. And is that Michael is back. Life in Colorado was too much for him, and he needed to return to his hometown of Scranton. Dwight is still the manager, but agrees to bring Michael back on as a salesman. Michael's having a hard time adjusting to the new faces in the office and does not like his new desk mates. He doesn't like new Jim, who is played by Jason Sudeikis, because of the way he talks. And he's constantly telling him to go back to England and coach soccer. New Dwight, played by Adam Driver, won't stop talking about his turnip field, turnip farm, and his favorite TV show, Babylon 5. New Pam, who's being played by America Ferrera, constantly complains to Toby, yes, he's back as well, because Michael keeps changing which Spanish-speaking country she's from, and always says things like, do they have paper in Mexico? Or how much does a ream of paper cost in Guatemala? Basically, you're just meeting all of these new characters.
Nice.
Awesome. I love that.
So you're just bringing back the 3 people?
So in the office, I'm leaving it the way it ended. So Dwight is the manager, Angela still works there, Oscar still works there, but everyone else, and Toby still works there. Everyone else is new, kind of like the way the season finale
Right.
went.
Okay, cool. All right, well, let's move on to my first episode. So like I did write 6 of these. So
You should 1 and 2.
yeah, let's see here. Oh man, I had just found this because I was gonna explaining. Let's see. Where did I go with this? Okay, hold on. I think I missed it. Because I had an explanation of where everyone was, because at first we were talking. Okay, here we go. So Jerry still lives in the same apartment. Kramer still lives across the street. Jerry's still doing stand-up, of course. Both of George's parents have passed away, and now he lives in their old house and hates the commute. Elaine works from home from her apartment from an online publisher, because if you're still going to do publishing stuff, it's going to be online. It's not going to be, you can have a paper thing or whatever. So, and of course, everyone is still single because they just picked everyone they ever dated apart. So with that being said, the first episode is called The Threads. So everyone joins Threads. We're being very topical with this.
Yes.
George refuses to leave. Actually, it would be X now, but George refuses to leave Twitter and gets angry that no one sees his post because everyone's moved on to this other thing. And he's just like, did you see my post? They're like, no, I don't do Twitter anymore. And he won't give it up. He's like, no, this is where I have all my stuff. I'm not leaving Twitter. Hell, I could have rewritten this where it was just renaming it X and just have the whole episode is just him going on and on about how stupid it is. Elaine doesn't like that she can't cross posts from other sites, so she begins to mistype words as her boss starts picking on her about it. So she's like, she wants to make sure she covers everything. So she types it up in Threads, and then she has to copy and move it over here. But then she's typing too fast, and now it looks like she doesn't know how to spell. And her publisher is just like, no, I caught your post, and there's a lot of grammatical errors in there. Do I need to be double checking your work? Because if you can't handle 140 characters or whatever it is, why are you doing editing for us? Kramer decides he doesn't want to be on it anymore and deletes it, and then gets upset when his Instagram account is deleted as well because he didn't bother reading the fine print. And then he's just lamenting the whole episode about how will he ever remember what he had for breakfast 2 years ago, and this, that, that type, like he's very old school type Instagram. So, Jerry keeps getting grieved on it. Like this person keeps, every time he posts something, they're just constantly, down on him or whatever. And he's trying to figure out who it is. And at the end of the episode, we find out, of course, it's Newman. Yeah. So anytime he posts anything, Newman's just on top of it with probably multiple accounts. Like it's not just one account. So every time he blocks it, someone else, jumps on. And he's just like, what's going on here? Like, why are just one person right after another stepping up to crap on me constantly? So yeah, the first episode would be the threads. Kris, what's your next episode?
So my next episode, we catch up with Monica and Chandler. And they are still married. So Monica is the head chef at a 3-star Michelin restaurant. And then Chandler has become a stay-at-home dad.
Oh, okay.
And he's also head of the PTA because he still is a go-getter. But now he's rethinking, he's thinking about heading back into advertising, which is where he started a new career at the end of the series. Mm-hmm. And now because his youngest is now in high school, so they've adopted another child after the twins.
Okay. I was going to say, didn't they have twins?
They did, yeah.
Yes.
So.
Nice.
Yeah. Your turn.
Wait.
All right, Ray.
That was it.
Okay, so Jill's birthday. So Randy and Mark are there. So I will explain why Brad's not there in a little bit. If you don't know, the actor has been arrested and put into jail for
felony domestic abuse.
Yeah, so
lovely.
So I have a fun way of getting around that. So Jill is going around and things keep breaking around the house. This fucking house is old. Not to mention, it was on a barge that was moved down to Indiana, and like Tim has fixed it how many times, right? And the way that Tim likes to fix it, so
right,
this thing is needing some updates. And Randy's, since he's there, he's like, well, why don't you do some new environmentally friendly updates to the house? And of course, that gets Tim excited, and he's like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this, and like grand shit. Of course, which Mark then suggests, well, hey, to help pay for it, why don't you put it on YouTube? And so, okay, well, like, I don't know really what to do with that, but interesting idea. How will that help? And blah, blah, blah. So they start talking about making a YouTube channel for Tim. It's Tim's Tool Time on YouTube. And then that way, you can kind of.
That is a fantastic idea.
So he's still a little worried, though, about having to spend all the money on the upgrades. And so he's because he wants to enjoy retirement, and he really wants to, not have to work for the rest of his life. And so Randy's like, don't worry, I got it. Like I have an idea. Yeah. And then Jill, of course, looks across the road or next door and realizes that house has sold, and I'll leave it at that. And that's kind of where that episode ends.
Okay, fair enough.
Dun, dun, dun.
I love the idea of doing a YouTube channel. Like that would definitely be like that. Totally makes sense as to where you would find that type of content next, especially with as many makers as I follow online on YouTube. Like that is totally where someone like that would end up. So
yeah, absolutely.
Good deal. Joseph, your next episode.
All right, episode 2 is called Pam, 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 Pam. Frustrated with his new work environment, Michael sets out on a quest to reunite the old crew. His first stop, Austin, Texas, where Jim and Pam had moved to by the end of the series, to try to convince Jim and Pam to come back. Michael can't concentrate at the office, so he goes on a sales call. And for those of you that are avid fans, I think it's season 6, where he realizes that people lie to him about going on sales calls to go do other things.
Yeah.
So he's doing that. Cut to Michael in disguise, eating at the Chinese restaurant where he had gotten kicked out of.
Mm-hmm.
Pam walks through the door to pick up an order. Michael gets way too excited, rips off his disguise, and runs to go see Pam, and he immediately gets kicked out. Turns out Jim and Pam have moved back to Scranton because they miss their families too much. Seeing a golden opportunity, Michael convinces Pam to request an interview with Dwight. Cut back to the office. New Pam is in Dwight's office, yelling at him to fire Michael or she was going to quit because Michael left her a copy of Rosetta Stone so she can learn American English. When Michael sees her, he asks her if she had trouble understanding his present because when she yelled, she sounded like Speedy Gonzalez. Naturally, new Pam quits on the spot, and Dwight hires Pam back to her old job.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
All within the realm of possibility.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, totally. Wow, that made an interesting sound. Okay, so episode 2, The Green Bubble. Jerry and Elaine both get new iPhones. They start to make fun of Kramer and George for having a green bubble while they're on their conversations. So George switches to an iPhone and loses all of his contacts because, of course, it's George. Like, he's lost everything. So anytime anyone calls him, he has to pick up because he has no idea who's calling him.
Yeah.
He can't figure out how to add the contact. They keep trying to talk him through it. They're like, it's me, it's Jerry. Just click this. And he's like, he can't follow anything. So anyway, once they finally do kind of get him set up or whatever, so Kramer's just like, no, I'm not switching. I'm not doing it. Y'all are morons. I'm not doing this. So Kramer refuses to switch over. And unfortunately, and if you are in conversations with people who have both sides, for whatever reason, and I've had this actually happen, like messages will not go through, or especially if you try to send pictures, it just sits there and says, cannot send, cannot send, cannot send. And it's just like, why are we doing this? So everyone creates a new chat that doesn't have Kramer in it so that they can send funny pictures and memes and stuff like that. But then he gets left out of some big event and they're like, why didn't you come? And he's like, I never got an invite. And that's when they realize, oh yeah, we accidentally put that on the wrong chat. We meant to put that on the wrong, we meant to put that on the other one. Jerry keeps cracking his screen to the point he he cracks his screen, takes it in an Apple, they replace it, no problem. Something happens again, cracks the screen, takes it in an Apple, they replace it, no problem. About the third time through the episode, they're like, sorry, sir, we're not replacing this. And he's just like, and he goes through his whole, Jerry spiel of, why do you make it to break? Why, anyway. And by the end of the episode, everyone is fed up and they all decide to switch back over to Android. Except for Kramer, who's run in with his brand new iPhone because he's so excited about it.
That's about right.
Nice.
Because I'm like, that's exactly how that would go down.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
All right. Your third episode, Kris.
This is my third and last.
Okay.
So we meet up with Ross and Rachel. So after about a decade of living in New York City, they decide to move with their 3 kids because now we have to remember that his first kid, Ben, would be 18 years old at this point. So
Okay.
golf, doing life. That's why it's not a big deal that them and their 3 kids, because that's how many kids Rachel wanted, moved to Paris, where Rachel got offered the Gucci job again. And Ross now works for the Archaeological Society in Paris. I don't know if it's a real thing, but it's so that's what he does now. And then the 3 kids are all in school and stuff like that. So
they are still together.
They're still together. They're in Paris. They have 3 kids together. Rachel's working at Gucci, and
she finally admits that they were on a break.
She never admits that.
I was going to say she's never going to admit that.
Never admit that, because in her head, it's like solid concrete information that they weren't. Anyway, yes, so that's where they are. They're in Paris. Rachel got her dream job. She's going there because I always got mad. It always seemed a little like a cop out at the end when Rachel came back. It's like she wouldn't come back. That's not something that she would have done. She would have gone to Paris. She would have taken that job because they kept they were giving her more money all the time. And like, I'm sure at that point it was a pretty hefty paycheck. So she wouldn't have stayed for Ross because Ross is a bit of an idiot. And there's no way she would have given up that for Ross, but she did. So this is the life that she's made for herself, but she gets to go back to Paris. She does make it to Paris. It just takes her a little longer.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's it.
Good deal. Ray?
Yep. So we cut to the first YouTube channel, or the YouTube videos kind of being made. And what we find out is there's a new gag to the show. Brad is behind the camera, and we never hear him and we never see him.
Nicely done.
So that explains why. No, Brad's here, and they'll say something, but always cut him off like Maggie.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Maybe just occasionally we get like a thumb in front,
Yeah.
like, you know,
thumbs up. You got something.
are we in frame? Is everything there? All right,
That
cool. Let's go.
Like, just like he's been arrested for fraud, for all sorts, and he just recently got arrested this spring. So sorry. We're watching Tool Time on Disney Plus. That's why. So
Yeah. Figure out something.
So
he's the new Wilson. Is that his guy's name?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the new Wilson.
yeah. So next thing you know, it's in the like really early in the morning, like 4 or 5 in the morning, and Jim and Jill get woken up from
Tim.
Tim gets woken up from this noise, and he goes to tell the neighbor off, and he gets a hidey ho new neighbor because there's Wilson. And he has moved in next door. Him and his wife Judith, because Judith was the girlfriend on the show a little bit, so they did get married, and they came down to. There's certain frogs down in Indiana that are beautiful to listen to in the springtime, but they're staying because they want to study the species of turtle that are down there, which is the alligator snapping turtles, and their mating habits. So absolutely, that sounds like something Wilson
Absolutely, yes.
So that's how we reintroduce Wilson. I was thinking about a new gag with them where every time they get on the phone with them, like it'd be Wilson not being able to use the phone, so you don't ever see them talking.
Right, like, yeah, that'd be awesome.
But yeah, I'm not sure how. Like, I want him back on the show, so that would be how I do it. So that, you know, all happy that they're reunited and everything, and then Randy shows up and says, "Hey, we've got a sponsor for our YouTube channel." And Tim's like, "Great, who is it?" It's Binford. It's like, Binford, like shit. I left them because they didn't want to do my show the way they wanted me to do it anymore, and so like, why would they want to sponsor it anymore? Well, the CEO really likes you, and in Al walks in. Al's the new CEO of Binford. And so Al and Elaine are sponsoring the show, and Al is now Tim's boss.
Nice. I was trying to figure out when you were going to get Al in there, so
good job.
Well done.
I think the dynamic of him being the boss would be a lot better too. So
yeah, that would be hilarious because it would constantly be, "Oh, did you clear it with Al?" No, it's fine. It's fine. Let's go. Do it.
Tim, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't think so, Tim.
Yeah. All right, Joseph, what's your next episode?
All right, my final episode of our new season, episode 3, Jim, James, Jimothy. Pleased with the success of bringing Pam back, he sets his sights on Jim. Knowing that his best bet is to convince Pam to help him, Michael concocts a scheme to get Jim to the office. Against her better judgment, Pam agrees to go along with whatever Michael comes up with. He won't tell her what it is because it's a surprise. Cut to the warehouse. Val is still there, and she is arguing with Michael, telling him he can't take a van to make a personal delivery. After repeatedly cutting her off, Val just concedes. Michael calls Pam down to the warehouse to help him with the loading and head off on delivery, just like the good old days of the Michael Scott Paper Company. The van pulls up to Hooters, because, of course, and Pam reluctantly gets out to help Michael unload the paper. Out of nowhere, men in ski masks capture Pam and throw her into another van and immediately take off. Michael steals someone's car instead of getting back into the delivery truck.
Mhm.
And goes on pursuit. He calls Jim and is frantically yelling, telling what's going on and saying that he's following these kidnappers. Cut to an open field. Pam is tied to a chair in the middle of a freshly plowed field. Jim speeds through the field, tearing up everything in the process. He rescues Pam, only to see Dwight, Nate, and Mose emerge from the van with Michael laughing alongside it. Furious, Jim walks up to them looking like he really wants to fight, but is thwarted by the sound of gunshots. Camera pans over, and it's new Dwight yelling at them that they destroyed his turnip field. They all quickly jump into their respective cars and escape. Cut back to the office. After Jim calms down, Michael and Dwight manage to convince him that he misses all that shenanigans, and Dwight offers him his old job back, with the caveat that Jim can't get revenge on them for the kidnapping. The credits begin to roll. Cut to Dwight finding everything in his office encased in Jell-O.
Nice.
That's good.
Yes, very good.
Because he'd be happy. You'd be like, but then like a meteor would be like,
oh yeah,
he'd smile. Yeah.
Well done, sir.
That's good.
All right. My next episode, the Uber driver. Kramer becomes an Uber driver. When he charges the group for a ride to the movies, they get mad at him. Because he's like, no, hey, yes, I said I'd give you a ride, but you're going to pay for it because this is my job now. So they refuse to go anywhere with him because he insists to get paid. Like anywhere they want to go, he's always like, I'll drive. They're like, no, we're not. No, we're not doing this. Jerry notices fries are missing every time he gets Uber Eats and from this one guy and orders tons of food, trying to get the same driver again to confront him. But he never can. He can never seem to get. So he just keeps ordering and ordering and ordering, and it's always someone different. And Elaine gets sick from eating all the food with him. George does Uber Eats and gets flustered every time he has to wait for a hotshot other driver who always gets his food first. So anytime he decides, he's like, okay, well, I can do this. Kramer can do it. I can do it. And every time he goes in, he's sitting there waiting for his food to come up. Well, someone else walks in and is like, oh, no, that's mine, and goes. And he's just like, why is it always him? Why do I always have to wait on my order? So I thought that would be a fun episode. And then, like I said, I have three more. The passwords. Kramer creates a password sharing network so everyone can pay for one service, but watch everything. It starts to get complicated when more and more people want to be part of it. And he can't hardly keep up. So he's, at first it was like, okay, well, I'll pay for Netflix and you can pay for Hulu and you can pay for Max and we'll just all share passwords and I'll be fine. And then, George wants part of it. And then Newman wants part of it. And it just keeps growing. And now he's got all these passwords and he's got them written down. And then he's like, he can't keep up with who's got what account and everything else. Elaine becomes enraged when someone deletes all of her picks on her favorites list and tries to add everything back, but questions every single decision. So she's like, that was definitely but was it, do I really want to watch this? Why was that on my favorites list? Was it ever on my favorite? Like, she's just like spiraling.
Yep.
Jerry and Newman get into a war, adding things to each other's accounts to ruin the recommendation engines, kind of like what Joseph and I did that one time. I have to explain that in a bit. Anyway, so they keep constantly, adding stuff to the other person's list. So it's like, I have no interest in watching, whatever it is. So, George keeps getting logged out when other people are trying to log in to watch stuff. Cause most of those services, only one or two people can be logged in at a time. And every time he sits down to watch something, he gets logged out and it's pissing him off. The whole thing crumbles when Netflix starts getting stricter with their password sharing. And of course, everyone blames Kramer because they're just like, well, now I've got to buy everything. So, I'm watching one series on all these different things and I don't have to pay for them all. So I thought that would be a fun one. All right. The next two episodes are The Convention Parts 1 and Part 2. The Convention, Part 1. Jerry gets invited to be a guest at a comic convention because of some voice work he did on a low-budget sci-fi movie.
He invites everyone to come with him since the hotel room and con tickets will be comped. When they arrive on Friday, they are blown away by the amount of people there and all of the celebrities. So this is an episode where we can have a bunch of just we can just pick random people, big celebrities to be in it because they're at the con, as well. Jerry wants to meet Scarlett Johansson, but he's too afraid to say anything. So he keeps seeing her pass by and he wants to say something. He can't bring himself to do it because he's so nervous. George wants to act like Jerry's handler, but there's actually a handler there. And they keep cutting him out. So they're constantly like, no, I've got this. And it's driving George insane. Elaine is starstruck, but is crestfallen when she learns that she has to buy tickets to meet every single person for every signing and stuff. Like she just thought that she could go meet all these people, and they're like, "No, sorry, it's $60 to get a signature, or $75 to get a picture." And it's just like, what? This is insane. Kramer's blown away by the cosplay and decides he's going to throw something together overnight, especially after he hears about the cosplay contest grand prize the next day. So we're going to see him like throwing cardboard and just all this stuff together. And that's going to be the end of the first episode. The next episode, the convention part 2. Jerry tried his best to smile and be happy when a parade of weird fans take pictures and get autographs at his booth and ask him for super in-depth questions at the movie panel that he has no clue about. Like he did voice work for this little sci-fi thing years ago, kind of completely forgot about it. And they're asking like questions like, do you think your character would have really done this? Because in issue 72 of the comic book, your character did, and he's like, I don't have no idea what you're talking about. Like he's trying to be nice to all of these, as he quote, weirdos, and he's having a hard time doing it. George continues to have an issue with the handler, and pretends to be one of the organizers to get them removed, and ends up getting blamed for everything that's going wrong behind the scenes. So now we have some of the celebrities coming in, and they're just like, who are you? He's like, well, I'm one of the organizers. And they're just like, good, I need to talk to you because I don't have all this stuff. And like, just everyone's just bagging on George. Kramer's costume is absolutely horrible. I would just love to see this thing just like shoddily thrown together. But he keeps getting encouragement from other cosplayers. They're just like, well, it's his first time. We don't want to be, we don't want to make him feel bad. So they keep like trying to help him out and trying to help prop him up. And it just keeps getting worse. He ends up winning the best first cosplay award at the contest. And his grand prize is to meet as a ticket to get a signature and a picture with none other than Jerry. Elaine sneaks around and keeps trying to like photobomb. So like she's constantly like coming in and like just doing a quick selfie. And of course it's like blurring everything else. And they keep trying to track her down. Well, eventually she gets completely thrown out of the convention for, taking pictures when she shouldn't be or whatever. And that's how we end up wrapping up the episode is, and then I was thinking, at first I was thinking we could have some other characters come back, and like be at the panel and like messing with Jerry. So like maybe we could get Soup Nazi to come back and so on and so forth. But I was just like, no, I think it'd be funnier if it's just a bunch of weirdos asking these super in-depth questions. He has no clue what's going on.
The Soup Nazi would be he'd have a booth and he'd bring a soup at one of those areas.
Now, see, we could do some of those as well. That would be awesome. Even if he just had like a food truck, like we just go by and that's like,
Babu Bot would have a Pakistani food truck.
Yes. Oh my God. And maybe those could be the two guys that go after George because they're both complaining that I was supposed to have this spot. Why does he have the spot? Or what? Oh my God, that'd be hilarious. So yeah, that's the first 6 episodes. I've honestly, if I had kept thinking about it, I probably could have done 10, and that technically would have been that's a modern season for a sitcom now. At least on streaming it is,
Yeah.
So
I thought the same thing that by the end of my 10th season, all the original cast would have been back. Like every episode, it would have been him, Michael, going after somebody.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up our episode for the month, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and move on to our picks and or pans. Would anyone like to go first? I will. My pick is I actually wrote this last month. There's several other things I could have picked from now till then, but I'm going to stick with my pick, and that is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I enjoyed it. It was once again a legacy, definitely a legacy movie. I don't care for the fourth movie, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but if you watch this movie, you do have to recognize that movie occurred, and I have to say I like the way they handled it. It actually gives a lot of meaning to his character in this new movie, because it's like, well, why did things end up the way they did? And the way it's explained, I don't want to give anything away if you haven't seen it, but the way they explain what happened to one character in particular is like, oh no, I could see how this would put Indy on this path and to where he is now. So I greatly enjoyed it. I don't remember the young lady's name, but the his former partner's daughter, at first I was not sure I was going to like her. I didn't kind of really care for her at the beginning, and then by the end of the movie I was like, you know what, I think I would actually watch additional movies with her and the kid, and Indy may be like jumping in from time to time, just being like, hey, you know, I did some research and you might want to know this or whatever. I would actually kind of like to see those two going around and doing shit. So at the beginning of the movie, I didn't really care for her character, but by the end I was like, no, I like her character. I would actually like to see her continue on. But overall, I enjoyed the movie. There is some definite more hardcore sci-fi that happens in it. But we're still fighting Nazis, so I'm still okay. I mean, because that's my thing. Indiana Jones needs to be fighting Nazis. If he's not fighting Nazis, I don't know if it's an Indiana Jones movie. But if you have not seen it, it may still be in the theaters at this point. Theaters are so wonky nowadays. Yeah, if you haven't seen it and you enjoyed at least the first couple of movies, go check it out. It's definitely worth watching. So, and he seems to have actually cared and did some acting in this movie. Can't say that about all the stuff he does nowadays, but yeah, he seemed to actually have enjoyed putting on the hat again and the whip. So, Kris, do you have a pick or pan?
So I remembered the last time we did the show, so I was like, oh yeah, that happened. Saw the Barbie movie with Logan. It was amazing. It was so good. Logan cried a little bit at the end and then proceeded to tell me that she had a bit of an existential crisis. But I loved it. My sister has seen it 3 times. She's absolutely, she took her boys to it last night at the drive-in, but it's so good. And I am almost enjoying the backlash of it, like the reasons for the backlash for it, almost as much as I like the movie. Because I've
heard nothing but good about it. I've heard everyone who's seen it said they've loved it.
Oh yeah, it's so good. Yeah, it's really good. Heartstopper season 2 is on Netflix. I binge watched that. It made my heart happy. It was so good. It's so cute. I am watching Gilmore Girls for the first time on Netflix. I never watched it. I missed the whole thing. Probably a good thing. I think I would have been really annoyed by the characters at that age. So watching it now and having, you know, the wisdom of hindsight and character growth and all that stuff, I'm like, I really like this. I don't know what that says about me that I'm 41 and I'm going back and watching Gilmore Girls and being like, I mean, I kind of relate a bit. Like Emily Gilmore could be my mother. Without the crap that comes out of that woman's mouth, I'm like, oh my God. My mom has basically said the same thing. I did not react like Lorelai did. I wish I had. But yeah, so I'm like on the 4th season. I'm on the 4th season now. And then today I went to my mom's trailer. She's a friend down the lane who had a 7-week-old golden retriever puppy. So I played with the puppy and I got bit by the puppy and licked and it
somebody has puppy fever.
Oh, so bad. Baby fever. I don't know what that is. Puppy fever. Oh my.
Oh yeah.
Really bad. Like it's
I understand. Terrible. Yeah.
so bad because I'm like, I could totally do it. I could take this home. This is fine. This is not realizing it's like, no, that's not true.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah.
I love puppies and kitties. Kind of like some people say grandchildren. It's like, no, I love to I will come over and love on your puppy and kitty all the time, and then go back home and not have to deal with accidents, chewing on stuff.
The whole 9 yards. It takes months and months and months. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's what stops you. Like, no, you actually don't. You have enough pets.
Yes.
Plus, he'd shoot you. So don't do that.
Yep.
And then I'll end on a good note. I had a pan. I'm like, you know what? It's not a strong enough pan. So I'll leave it. Just nothing but good stuff.
There you go. Ray?
I'll start with my pan, which is I want the studios and to start paying their actors and writers and everybody. I want them to all start paying them properly because
it's messed up a lot of crap.
Fuck greed. Anyway.
That's a good message.
Yes. So that would be my pan. My pick would be I did go see Oppenheimer. It was decent. Beautifully shot. Like it was a really good movie that way. And I think that they kind of showed the humanity portion a little bit better of actually creating the atom bomb and what the scientists kind of went through morally that way. And that was good. And then the other pick is I've been extended on my rotation again. So I'm going to be in my rotation at work for another until February, which is great.
Okay.
And continue on in this role, and I'm happy about that. So yeah.
Nice. Good job.
Awesome.
Good deal. Joseph, you have a pick or pan?
I have 2 picks and 1 pan. I will start with the 1 pan. Actually, it was this morning. I follow the local news station out here on the various social medias, and the article that they posted today was the last day of the sun going down at 8 p.m. and that it's going to be between 7 and 8 up until September 21st in the fall equinox, and then it's going to be before 6. And then they said that based on the Farmer's Almanac this year, in December, sunset will be around 4:30. So I will still be at work.
Welcome to our world. Welcome to our world. Yep.
Jeebus.
So that's my plan. My picks. One is I organized a back to school drive at my office. We got 30 backpacks and over $2,000 worth of supplies.
Nice.
The charity that we donated to specifically gives these supplies to foster kids, kids from at-risk homes, and kids of refugees. So 30 kids going into the school year will have some stuff. There was a lot of people in my office that didn't think that anyone would contribute. So it was a giant win for us, especially because I am like unofficially the head of the culture committee. And so now it's my responsibility to organize charity drives, plan our company parties and all that kind of stuff. But I had decided earlier this in July that instead of planning company happy hour first, I was going to work on a charity thing. So when we showed up at the place where we were dropping all the stuff off, the woman literally started crying because they had gotten a lot of donations from the community, but nothing to the scale of what we had brought. So that was pretty cool.
Dude, that's awesome.
Felt good to do some good, you know. The other pick, and I know kind of late to the game on this one, because I think this came out. The Jedi Survivor came out 3 weeks before Tears of the Kingdom, so no way I was going to play that and Tears of the Kingdom at the same time. So I got Jedi Survivor. I want to say it was last weekend, maybe 2 weekends ago. So far, the story is fantastic. I like where they're going with this. The gameplay is great. So if you played the first game, you had 3 options. You could wield your lightsaber in one hand. Then later on in the game, you unlock the ability to do a double-bladed lightsaber like Darth Maul. And then you could later, by the time you got towards the end of the game, you could disconnect the double-bladed and dual wield your lightsaber. Well, this game starts out with single, double blade, and dual wield, and then added a couple extra. So I have recently unlocked what essentially is a Claymore lightsaber. So he two-hands it, and he uses that to take out any. There are some bounty hunters in the game that wear Beskar, and you need the big lightsaber to break through their armor. And they added another mechanic, which I think is pretty cool. He dual wields a lightsaber in the right hand and a blaster in the left hand. And some of the kill animations, where he will go up to a stormtrooper, attack them, put the lightsaber in his gut, pull the gun out, and shoot him in the face. And so it's definitely going. There have been a lot of things on TikTok, I guess because I'm playing it now that it's like TikTok knows what I'm doing, where that exact clip this game took customization to a different level where you can customize the hair and the facial hair and all this kind of stuff. And so you can give him a mullet with handlebar.
Oh my.
And so the clip that plays in my mind is you got a mullet, you got that goatee going down to here. He stabs the stormtrooper, shoots him in the face, and then you hear America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm assuming that's where you were going with that.
Yeah. And so I basically have been trying to recreate that this whole time. It's a lot of fun. It is its own story, but still within the universe. If you never played the first one, I won't ruin the little twist at the end there. But I just like that it's expanding upon the lore, and it feels. The best way I can describe it is The Mandalorian, because it's shot like or the game is like a Western, but you're essentially a gray Jedi, and you planet hop, you search for things. So it's got a lot of RPG elements to it, and so it is a lot of fun. I did not think the first one, Fallen Order, was one of my favorite games for the PS4. Did not think I was gonna like this one as much, but yeah, it's good. So if you have the opportunity to play both of them, you definitely need to play the first one to understand what's happening in the second one. But if you have the opportunity to play, I would take that.
Nice.
I have the first one. I haven't played through it just yet. Quinn was playing it, and I got distracted with other games like Tears of the Kingdom. So it's on the list to get through that first one first, and then play the second one. So.
I mean, there is still a moment from that first game that when it happens, the just jaw-dropping thing, you'll know it when it happens. And it's one of those things where even I remember sitting down in the game room at the house in Colleen, just like, oh my god, and Elaine like running over, like, what's happening? I was like, look at what's happening on the screen right now. So it's cool.
Yeah, I'll get around to it sometime.
You still gotta play Tears of the Kingdom, dude.
I promised myself I have to finish my Proton Pack before I buy anything. But then it's like, do I buy Tears of the Kingdom? Do I buy Diablo 4? And
hold off on Diablo 4.
Do what?
And then next
month, Diablo 4.
Next month, Baldur's Gate 3 comes out, and that one's gonna be, I think personally, I think it's gonna be a little bit better than Diablo 4. I played the Diablo 4 beta, played the Baldur's Gate beta. Baldur's Gate looks a lot better. It's the same kind of thing. We could play cross-system party, and it's based off of the 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons, so the mechanics are the same. I did see a TikTok about it the other day on the PC version. Maybe they went a little too far with the customization, because you can customize the genital bulge of your character.
Wow, I feel like that's not needed.
Yeah.
There's a line, and they're like, "How far past the line can we go?"
Right. Yeah, exactly.
He goes for a divorce and he hates his ex-wife, and he's like, you know what? That one comment, fuck you. This is what I'm doing it. For all the men, this is what's happening.
Nice. Well, that is our show for the month, ladies and gentlemen. If you would please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes or Google. I will go ahead and remind everyone that I just recently took down the Stitcher link on our website because Stitcher is going away. Actually, it ends at the end of this month. So you may by chance listen to this episode on it before it goes away. So if you have not heard, I'm sure they've probably been trying to beat in everyone's heads. Hey, guess what? It's going away. It's moving to something else. But unless someone reaches out and says, hey, I really want you to be on the new service, whatever it is, that's not going to happen. Just find us on iTunes or Google, or watch us on YouTube. You can even do that. So you can find us at epicallygeeky.com, where you can find the other shows we do, including the Creatively Geeky Show, Sustainably Geeky, and Marginally Geeky shows. And then you can follow us on all of the social media, on Facebook, Instagram, no, we haven't been on Threads, and X, because whatever. No, I haven't been posting on that either. You know what? Never mind. Follow us on Instagram. That's about the only place you're going to find us. And then maybe Facebook, but whatever. So I'll say that it's on there, but I guess, honestly, I probably need to go back and post something on those other accounts just so I don't lose the handle. Like, that may be the only reason. Like, I may go back and be like, oh yeah, I haven't posted in almost a year. I'm just going to do this to re-up that. Nope, this is not an abandoned account. So, because that's the thing you have to do. So, where can we find you online, Ray?
The Reluctant Yeti on Instagram, and fixing whatever Sean puts on Wikipedia.
Kris?
Instagram at Moody Midlife.
Joseph?
Ruining my new cousin's life because I take all the J. Morales handles and just making it impossible for her, Julia, to ever get a J. Morales handle.
Nice. And as always, you can find my individual adventure online at Optimus Gene on Facebook, Instagram, X, Thread, whatever. Anyway, follow me on Instagram. That's mainly where I post stuff. So for everyone on the site, have a good night.